Okay, good. Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's class. And today we're going to be doing some few things. Yes, I call them few, but they're not so few actually. So we're going to do some few things, and we're going to start from where we stopped the last time. Remember the last time we actually edited some objects to fit in this space, and we then mirrored it to achieve a semi-detached kind of building, like so. So today we're going to continue, and we'll continue from where we stopped. Remember last time we did a little bit of editing. We used the move, the rotate, the trim, copy, mirror, stretch, even the erase tool. So today we're going to be starting with a fillet. Like as you can see here, this is the fillet tool, this is the chamfer tool. So we're going to start with the fillet. What is the fillet? The fillet command is used to connect two perpendicular lines using a tangent smooth arc or curve. What do I mean by that? I say it is used to connect two perpendicular lines. Let's say we have one line this way. I want it to be straight, so of course, as you must have guessed, I will have to turn on the cursor restriction orthogonally. So I'll have both vertical and horizontal straight lines. So I said it is used to connect two perpendicular lines. So I'll create this and this. Now, if I want to insert a fillet here, I said the fillet connects these two lines with a smooth arc or curve. So we all know what an arc is. This is an example of one. And it's also a curve, so it's quite simple to understand. So we're just going to come over to the Fillet command and click on it. Then you see some options here. But for this example, I'll just decide to impute the radius alone. We'll talk about this later. I'll decide to impute the radius alone. The radius here is asking you how you want the curve to be, like the radius of that curve. In this case, I'm going to insert 300 to be the radius of my curve. And I select the first line, which is this one, and then the second line. And it creates a smooth curve like so. If you understand up to this point, please use the chat box, say yes, 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 yes. If you're getting it up to this point, please, I need yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're good. So everyone understands up to this point. Having said that, so we'll have to create some fillet here. Now, if you notice, the table is a little bit too small and it's not fancy. This should be our table for the rooms, but it's a little bit too small. I want to make it, and it does not have much styles to it. So I want to add little styles to it. Now, for me to add styles to the tables, there are things I need to do. Let me just make the inner part of the table a little bit filleted. I'll make the inner part of the table a little bit filleted. So how do I do that? I go to the fillet command, select on the fillet. Now, there are some options for me to explore. If I had done a previous fillet, the undo will actually take out that fillet, but I've not done any here, so the undo command is just, we'll just leave that for now. And then the next command is polyline. What this polyline is trying to tell you is that if you have a polyline, I explained what a polyline is, and I explained the difference between line and polyline. If you don't, if you weren't there, I will just do a quick explanation so you understand. Let's see, we have a line here. This is this object is being drawn using a line. So we have it this way. This object is being drawn using a line. Now, I'll draw similar objects using a polyline. 1, 2, 3, and 4 points. Okay, I've drawn 2 objects, one using the line command and the other one using the polyline command. Okay, now let's explore the difference. For line command, if you highlight any of the lines, you'll notice that they are separate from each other. They are not all tied together, like they are not joined together. They are all segregated separately. But if you try to highlight one part of the polyline, you'll notice that all the parts are connected. All the segments of the polyline are connected, hence the name polyline. So having explained that, I will come back to this. I will use the fillet also to explain that. Now, if you say, okay, I want to edit a polyline, and you click on this polyline option, if you select any object after imputing the radius, it will treat that object as a polyline. In this case, if I come here and say, okay, I want to select this part, you will see it treats all the corner at once. So it's taking this object as a polyline and it treats all corners at once. Let me try it with this one. You see, it does not work because this is not a polyline. It was created using the line command. Do you understand this? If you understand this, please use the chat box, say yes. If you understand this, please use the chat box, say yes. Okay? John understands. Chinagorom understands. John Paul, are you here? Okay, those two understand, so I believe everyone understands. Now, since we've imputed 300 as a radius, if we come here and click on this polyline, like so, it has already filleted the polyline. So all the perpendicular areas, like where 2 lines met, they were all filleted and it created this very smooth curve, like so. So that we will have to effect that change to the table to make it look nice. How do we do that? We go to Fillet Command and we come to change the radius because that 300 radius was too big. Like, let's see. Okay, 300. We'll come to change it from 300 to something like 150 or 100. Okay. So now you see, we have a very nice curve all over the polyline, like so. So we have that for our table. And yes, that is it. Now I'm going to repeat that command somewhere else inside the house. I'm going to repeat that command somewhere else inside the house so you see it properly. Okay, I'll go to Fillet Command. I'll go to Fillet Command. And I'm going to select this polyline option to indicate that I want to trim all the corners at once because they are all connected. I'll select the polyline option and the radius was set to 100. Yeah, so I can make it 80 in this case. Enter. And then I come here and select the inner rectangle to make it look a little bit nice. As you can see, all the corners have been filleted and we have that nice curve. If you understand up to this point, please use the chat box. Use the chat box. If you understand up to this point, please use the chat box. Say yes if you understand. Okay, Chinagam understands, Fafere John understands. We continue. Somebody's mic is unmuted. I would really appreciate it if you mute your mic. Omarishola, I would appreciate if you mute your mic. You're welcome. Okay, so like I said, the Fillet command creates this nice arc connecting two perpendicular points. And like I just explained, we saw how it does that. So let's explore other options using the Fillet command. Click on the Fillet command. And we've done the polyline. The polyline treats the object as far as they are all joined together. As far as all the joints are connected, it treats them at once and immediately. That is it. So the next one we're going to explore is the radius. Of course, the radius actually tells the software that this is the radius of what. This is the radius I want the curve. This is how far I want the curve to go. So we assume that this curve is a complete circle. If you try to connect the whole circle, you see that the radius of that circle will be equals to what you impute here. So that is it about the radius. And I demonstrated that this is of radius 100. I can demonstrate again another radius. Let me select another radius of 200, enter. I come here, I select polyline, to treat as polyline, and I come here, and I select this one. Now you can see like so, this radius is of 200, and it treated it as polyline, so it did all of them at once. So I'm going to undo that because I don't want it. Okay, now I'm going to click on the fillet again to explain further the next option. We've done the polyline, the radius. Now the trim and no trim. Let me explain this. If you click on trim and you select no trim, what you're trying to tell AutoCAD software is that after you've created the fillets, I don't want you to trim the edges for me. Just leave them, the corner, leave them the way they are. I want it to also remain there while you create an extra geometry by creating the smooth curve arc connecting these two perpendicular points. For example, this time I won't use the polyline option. I will just impute a radius of 70. Enter. And then it will ask me to select first object. I'll select this first object, which is the first line. And then it's asking me to select second object. I'll select the second object. And you can see it created a nice tangential curve connecting these two points. But it did not trim off this part. If you understand up to this point, please say yes, use the chat box. Please say yes, use the chat box. If you understand up to this point, please say yes, use the chat box. Okay. Okay, Chinagoram said yes. Did you say yes, Chinagoram?
Yes, I said yes.
Okay. The rest of you, I'll have to go over again. Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. I will have to go over it again. I'll have to go over it again. Why am I not seeing my cursor? Okay, so the cursor is back here. Now I said I'll have to talk about the fillet again, so we understand what we're talking about, especially for those that got logged off and those that had issues with their connection. So I'm going to do this. Let me just undo everything. Undo this part. Undo this part. undo this part, undo this part. Okay, so we're right here. Now, for the fillet command, I said the fillet is used to connect two perpendicular objects or lines using a smooth curve. In this case, if I want to connect these two objects, these two perpendicular lines, as you can see, with a smooth curve or arc, we all know what an arc is. Over here, you can find an arc, and there are different ways to create an arc. So if you want to connect these perpendicular points using a smooth curve or arc, that's where you need to use the fillet command. And this is the fillet command. So when you click on the fillet command, you have several options to choose from. Looking at your command line, you have several options to choose from. You have the undo, you have the polyline, you have the reduce, you have the trim, and multiple. We'll talk about them one after the other. If you had one fillet done before, let's say this. If I click on the fillet command and do undo, select the undo option, and select this part, and select the second part, there is an error somewhere. It would have undone this previous movement up to this point. Well, since that one is not working, we'll leave that one for now. There should be something that is wrong from my settings, and I will trace that later. So for the polyline option, it treats these whole objects, this rectangle, as a polyline. If I click on the polyline option, it will treat this rectangle, the entire rectangle here, as a polyline. Anyone I select, it treats that as a polyline. Now let's see. For explanation, I did something. Okay, it's working now. The command I selected earlier is working now. For explanation, I did something. I drew two lines explaining the difference between a line and a polyline. And I talked about the connection of those lines. Like this one is being created using the line tool. I have to delete this one. So we have to delete this one, so we have space. These objects right here, this shape is created using the line tool. Why the next shape I'm going to create, I will use the polyline, like so. As you can see, if I select any of the lines here, you see that I can select them individually because they are all segregated. They are not joined together. They are all segregated. They are all separated from each other. So that is it about the line. But for the polyline, if I just select any part, if I highlight any part of it, you notice that it selects the entire object. Why? Because they are all joined together. They are connected, hence the name polyline. If you understand up to this point, John Paul and Chinagorom, John Paul, and Fafure John, if you understand up to this point, please use the chat box. Say yes. Okay. Omori Shola, if you understand up to this point, please use the chat box. Say yes. Okay, I see people saying yes. That means you understand up to this point. Okay. Omori Shola, I'm waiting for your yes if you're on this call. Okay, so we all understand up to this point. Now, we know the difference between a line and a polyline. A polyline is joined together. All the corners, all the edges are joined together, like so. And a line is segregated and separated from each other, like you can see. Okay, so if you want to convert a line to a polyline, you just highlight it and use a modified tool called join. This is it. Once you click on this, it will convert your line into a polyline, like so. So you see, I highlight one part and all the parts are connected. Okay, having said that, I will undo that recent command. I don't want to join it because I want to use it for an example. Yeah. So having said that, I will do something with the fillet. Now I click on fillet, and the first option after the undo is polyline. When you click on the Polyline option, what it does is that it treats the entire drawing or the entire object as a polyline, as a single entity. So it will look out for edges and connect those edges with a curve according to the radius that is being imputed by the user. So in this case, I'll go to Polyline, click on Polyline, and for the radius, I will impute 200, enter. Now I come here and I try to select this. You see, it does not even indicate that there's a line there. It does not even indicate that there's a line there because that's not a polyline. They were created with the line command, which creates only segregated segments of lines, as you can see. While this other one, if I just hover around it, you see it's selected. And if you click to select the object, it creates this curve according to the radius you inserted. So you can see, like, so if you understand up to this point, please use the chat box, say yes. Editor Celestine, you're welcome. If you understand up to this point, please use the chat box, say yes. Okay, John understands, Chinagorom understands. Next person, Nomorishola, right? John Paul, are you still on this call? Have you been logged out? John Paul says yes. Nomorishola, are you still on this call? So this class will be very quick and fast. So we have all the time in the world to say yes. Meanwhile, I'll continue if you're not on this call. So having said that, I will need to effect some changes, first of all, on our test project, and this will be our lab rats. We use it to test with this before we go into the building, so I won't spoil what's inside of the building. So now, I'll just need to create a fillet and make a very nice curve around the inner rectangle. So I'll click on the polyline option, and I will change the radius to 70. Enter. Now, if I go and hover around this object, you see it will give you a preview of what it will look like. So you see, it treated that object as a polyline because, of course, the rectangle is a polyline because all the corners are joined together. So now, if I click, it will effect the change, like so. So you see, we now have a very nice curve around the corners. Okay. Now I'll do that to our table inside the house. I'll just go to fillet. Every other parameters is being set. The radius is being set. I'll select the polyline. Of course, you see the radius at 70. So I'll leave that, and then I'll select this. And you see, we have a very nice table inside our house. So having said that, I'll go to the next option. When you click on the Fillet command, you see the next option, which is radius. So the radius, we've done the radius also. So I'll just talk a little bit about it. The radius actually tells the software that, okay, this is how I want the radius to be. Now, imagine that this curved fillet right here is a full circle, and you want to extend it. Let me do something. Imagine that this is a full circle, and you have the circle here. Let me create a circle. Imagine this, and you move around here. Let me come, turn on snap. I need node, I need quadrant, tangent, insertion. I need all of them basically. And center. So I need all these to show. I'll remove nearest. Okay, I'll leave it there. So now I just turned on that snap option. So if I hover around here, you'll see the center, which is this point. And if I click on it and I draw a circle up to this tangent point or the nearest, you see that the circle actually went this way. Now, if I calculate the radius of this circle, if I come here, select it, and go to the properties panel to check the radius of this circle, you see the radius is 70. If you can see this and if you understand up to this point, please say yes. If you can see this and you understand up to this point, please say yes. Okay, 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 and we're good to go. So now that's it for the radius command. So we now understand what it really means to impute a radius to the fillet option. Okay, I just want to delete this because we don't need it there. Okay, now we're going to the next option on the fillet command, and that is the trim. If, for instance, let's say you want to create an object and you don't want the software to trim off the corners after creating the fillet, what you need to do, you need to come to this trim option, select it, and then say no trim, because we have two options, trim and no trim. If I select trim, which is the default option, it will trim off the corners once it creates the fillet. But if I say no trim, and I impute the radius, of course, the radius is 70, and other options checked. I'm not using the polyline for this case because I just want to effect the change to only one corner. So if I come here, I select my first object and select the second object, it will create a nice fillet, like so. And if you notice from the preview, it did not trim the corner. So you see, it created a fillet, but the corners are still there. If you understand up to this point, please say yes. Okay, okay, okay. I'm getting these good vibes. Chinagorom and John Paul, they are running this race. I don't know. For the rest, Fafure John, Omorishola is not on this call anymore. I think she has natural issues. Okay, Fafure John also understands. Celestine Edidion, I don't know. Okay, now that is it for the fillet command. And let's go to the next option under the fillet command. We have multiple. Now, for instance, you want to create a fillet like this. I'll do something. Let me undo this. Undo this. Undo this also. Okay. For instance, you want to fillet more than. What's happening? Something is happening to my software. I don't know what. But anyway, I'll get to know later. Okay, it's good. So now, you might want to edit or modify more than one corner using the fillet command. And that's where you need to use, and you don't want to, let's say it's not a polyline, and you want to modify more than one corner, let's say 2 or 3 corners. And you don't want to be clicking the fillet command after modifying each corner. So what you need to activate is the multiple option. This multiple option allows you modify multiple corners using just one command. So now we're going to check the radius. The radius is 70. Let's make it 80. And the trim, no trim, we need to select trim in this case. So when you trim, it's to trim off. Now, if I come here, because my multiple is being selected, if I select my first line and my second line, it's to trim this, and the command will remain active, like so. As the command remains active, I can come here and edit my radius to make it 70 or 60 so it will be more visible. Then I will select trim, no trim, and I will say, okay, I want it to be no trim. Then I still select multiple. I select this other corner, and it goes that way. So you see the difference, but the command is still on, unlike before. If I just did effect a change to any of the corners, you see that the command will go off. That means I'm done with the command. But with this multiple option, you can trim as many corners as you want. Let's say I want to increase the radius to 100, enter, and then I come here, I select this part. I trim this part. You see, it continues like that. Then I I come here and say trim instead of no trim. And I come here to trim this part. You see, it continues, and I still have time to do other things, like so. So that is the effect of this multiple option. If you understand the multiple option, please use the chat box. Use the chat box. If you understand the multiple option, please use the chat box. Okay. So that is it for fillet command. We're going to use another, which is the opposite of fillet, and that will be chamfer. The fillet command is used to connect two perpendicular lines or objects, creating smooth tangent. That's it for the fillet. While the chamfer is used to connect two perpendicular lines or objects using an inclined line. So we've seen the way the fillet works. Now we want to check out the way the chamfer works. So I'm going to do this and this for now. I'll just need to keep that. Now let's explore what the chamfer does. I click on the chamfer, and you see there are options there also. We have polyline. Of course, we know what the polyline does. We have distance, we have angle, trim, method, and everything. We're going to talk about the distance in this case. We're going to talk about the distance in this case. Someone you're welcome. We'll talk after the class. But we're going to talk about the distance in this case. So the distance is actually asking you, according to the way you input it, how do you want to cut the line? First of all, let me explain what a chamfer is so you understand what I'm talking, because if you don't understand. Okay, a chamfer will look like this. If I want to make a chamfer across this corner, a chamfer will look like this. You must have seen it in some furnitures around you. This is what the chamfer will look like. So instead of it to make a curved edge, it will make an inclined edge. So you see it to be inclined like this, to be diagonal, like some of you will say. Okay, so this is this is how a chamfer looks like. This area can be said as being chamfered. So I have chamfered this area. So now let's go and practice it here. I click on the chamfer tool, and I want to chamfer this edge. Now I need to specify my chamfer distances. I need to specify my chamfer distances. How do I do that? I come here, I select on distance. Once I select on distance, it's asking me to specify first chamfer distance. So I input, let's say, let's go with 50. Second chamfer distance, I'll go also with 50. Enter. Now it's asking me to select first line. Now, according to the way you inserted the command, you can select the lines accordingly. So the first line means that from this point, we'll use this point as the origin. From this point to this direction, if I'm selecting this line as my first line. So from this point, so the point of the first line or the direction of the first line, it will cut out 50 units. So I'll select this as my first line. That as my first line. Then if I select this as my second line, you will notice a preview. Now what it's trying to say is that from that particular point to this point, it took out 50 units. And from that particular point that I use as my origin point. So this point of the second line, it took out another 50 units, creating this inclined line across the edge, making this chamfer. If you understand up to this point, please say yes. If you understand up to this point, please say yes. Okay, Chinagam does. Okay. Choose the fact right, John. John Paul. Yeah. She's Amadi. You're welcome. Omarishola, don't worry, you have to watch the video or we'll discuss after the class. But for now, just try. But okay, let me explain again. Like I said, the chamfer, unlike the fillet, you were not here for the fillet. So the fillet is used to connect two perpendicular lines using a smooth tangent or curve. And this is an example of the fillet. I won't go over how I did it. And you have to watch the video. It will be on YouTube after the class. This is an example of a fillet. This right here is an example of a fillet. Now, this is a fillet. The chamfer is, should I say, it's like an opposite to the fillet. While the fillet creates a smooth tangential arc or a smooth curve connecting two perpendicular lines, the chamfer actually cuts through diagonally or with an inclined line, just like this. So as you can see, we created a fillet. Of course, it has radius. While this chamfer line, you will have to determine the length of the cutting from the origin. You have to determine the length of the cut from the origin to the first line direction and the length of the cut from the origin to the second line direction. So depending on how you choose your lines, let's say you choose this for your first, or you can decide to choose this other one as your first line and this other one as your second line. It depends on what you want. And let me explain that. So I go to the chamfer. The chamfer is the opposite of fillet. So you see it on the same drop-down menu as the fillet. This is the fillet and this is the chamfer. So I click on the chamfer, and it will give me some prompts. And like we saw in the fillet, polyline, distance, and all that. So I'm going to click on distance to impute the distance of my first line and my second line. I just explained what the first line and second line is. So this time I'll put my first line to be 70 and my second line to be 90. So this time I will choose my first line to be this one and my second line to be this one. As you can see. So now let me do something so it will be clearer to those that need it to be clearer. I click on this. The trim, no trim. I explained this using the fillet, so we all know what it does. I'll click on it and I will select no trim so I can explain what I want to explain now. Then I come to distance. I select first distance to be 70, enter, second distance to be 90, enter. So I select here to be my first distance line. And here to be my second distance line. So now we see it's created a chamfer, but it did not trim the external part. So I want to explain something. So if I come to measure and I measure this line, if I measure from here, it does a crazy measure. I don't want it that way. Let me just dimension it. I'll dimension from this point to this point out this way. And I'll make another dimension from this point to this point right here. Of course, you see the perpendicular sign. Now keep it. There is an error going on. There's an error going on there, so I have to redo that. I'll come and select this line, select that point rather, and I'll select this other point, and I'll keep it here. This one has an error, so I'll delete this and redo it. I come to dimensions. Omorishola, I'll get back to you, please. Just bear with me. This and this. And I'll keep it here. Okay, like you see, I said my first line should be 70, like I did from the distances, and the second line should be 90. So since I selected this line to be my first line, you see it did chamfer, it made a cut from here, from this point to this line, to the direction of this line. And that cut was equal to 70 units, according to what I did impute. And then the second one was cut to 90 units, according to what I inserted. If you understand this, I just explained, apart from Omarishola that maybe is not clear. If you understand this, please use the chat box. Omarishola, if you understand also, please use the chat box. Okay, you don't understand. Omarishola. I'll take it as you don't understand. We'll have to talk after the class. Oh God. Okay. I talked about fillets before now. And basically today's class was just going to be fillet and chamfer. So let's just make sure everybody's on the same page. And I'll make it very fast. So please pay attention to Marishola. Please pay attention. Let me delete out all these things. Delete and I'll take out. Let me just go to fillet and do some things. Once one do some things here, I'll just want to make it like it was before. And do this. Multiple. So I can undo multiple options. So I come here. Okay, we have that. And I'll delete this chamfer right here. Let me do a regen. Regenerate my model. Intelligent. Fine. So now we have that. I talked about the fillet. I said the fillet help you create, connect two objects or two lines using a smooth tangential arc or curve. So now, how to create a fillet? It's very simple to create a fillet. It's very simple to create a fillet. To create a fillet, you just need to go to the fillet drop down, select on the fillet command, and then there are some options to follow. If you choose a polyline, it treats the object you're selecting as a polyline. Mind you, you should know the difference between a line and a polyline. If you don't know that, I use this to explain the difference between a line and a polyline. This object is being drawn using the line command. And another object is being drawn using the polyline command, like so. Somebody's mic is on mute. Please, Bamidele Ayo, I will advise you to mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, so the first object was drawn using the line command, and the second object was drawn using the polyline command. So now, if you notice, if you try to highlight each segment of the line drawn by each segment of the object drawn by the line command, you see they are all separated. They are all separated and they are not joined together. They are all separated like so. While that of the polyline, if you try to select even one part of it, you see that every other part of the object is being highlighted. This is because it is all the corners are joined together, hence the name polyline. So now, let's do something quick. With the fillet command, click on the fillet command, say, okay, I want to treat this object as a polyline. That means I want to treat this object as if all the parts are joined together. That's what it means here. If I click on the Polyline command, I want to treat the object as if all the segments are joined together. And I want all the corners to be filleted at once. That's the meaning of that polyline option there. It means that if you select the polyline option, you're trying to tell the software that, okay, all the corners are assumed to be joined together, and I want to fillet all the corners of that particular object at once. So you do that, you select the object. Now, just notice something. For the line command, I cannot fillet all the corners at once because this is actually drawn using the line tool and not the polyline tool. So it won't work on that. But look at it for the polyline tool. If I just do that, you see, it filleted every other part. Now you notice it filleted it, but it did not trim off these corners. That is because an option is turned on, and that option is called no trim. So if we go back to fillet tool, the next option there is radius. The radius actually tells you the radius of this curved arc. So this curved arc, if I click on this radius, you see the radius of that curved arc. The curved arc is equal to 100 units. So if I come and highlight this arc, and I go to the properties of this arc to check the properties of that arc, you see the radius is equal to 100 units. That is because I inserted 100 units as the radius. So now let's go to the next option. The next option is trim, no trim. Trim, no trim. If you notice here, we have the no trim option. That's why these parts, we created the radius, but the edges were not trimmed. So now if I click on trim, no trim, and I select on trim, because you see the no trim is being highlighted here as the default command. So I'm coming here to select trim. So the next time I am going to create a fillet, you see that it will trim the edges. Now I did not select the polyline command, so this should work on this line. Because I did not select the polyline command, this should work on this line. I'll select my first line, I'll select my second line in this case, and we have it like so. If you understand up to this point, because I believe every other person understands up to this point. If you understand up to this point, please say yes, use the chat box. Omarishonla, are you on this call? Of course not. Okay, we continue. So that's it for the no trim command. So we're going to the next one. That's it for the trim and no trim command. The next one is multiple. This multiple, if you want to continue creating fillet after you've done your first fillet. So if I click on multiple, it means that if I do this fillet command will not go off. I can continue filleting all other objects until I'm tired or until I'm done with what I'm doing. So as you can see, like so, I will trim and trim and trim until I say, okay, I don't want to trim again. Until I say, okay, I don't want to trim again, and I use an enter to exit the command, like so. So we all understand up to this point. So we're going to the next option, which is the chamfer. Unfortunately, Operation Lab missed this part also, and we're not going back on this. The chamfer tool. I explained what a chamfer does. A chamfer creates, unlike the fillet that creates a curve, a smooth tangential curve connecting two objects or two lines. The chamfer command actually creates a connection between two objects or two lines, perpendicular lines, using an inclined line or a diagonal line. So a chamfer, in this case, if I click on distance, we all know what the polyline does. So if I click on polyline action, let me click on polyline. I click on polyline, you see the next option is angle, method, or distance. So if I click on distance now, it will ask me to specify distance of first line. So in this case, I'll use 50. And the second line, I'll also use 50. So I'll create a chamfer like so. So you see the chamfer is being created, but the no trim command is turned on, so it did not trim this other part. And I will do that again using the trim command, so it trims it off. Now I go to chamfer, I go to trim, and I select trim. This time I select polyline and distance. So impute the distance 50, enter 50. And I come here, I make a nice chamfer on this rectangle. Now I'll make it on the outer rectangle this time. Yes. So we have it like so. So the fillets should be the inside one. So I just do polyline to fillet this. So we have it like that. Now I want to effect this change to the table that is inside the house since I've done the whole practical. If you understand up to this point, please say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Am I carrying you along? If you understand up to this point, please say yes. Use the chat box. Okay. Everybody's been carried along. Okay. Chizi Amadi. I don't know you actually, but after the class, we'll have to meet. The next person who is there, Fafure John. Okay, wow. Okay, Edidion Celestine, you've not said anything since the beginning of the class. I hope you're following also. So that is it for the chamfer and fillet. Let me apply a chamfer to this table inside of the house so it will look a little bit, to look like an investor's table. Come here, select chamfer. And of course, I'll make it a polyline, so it's chamfers all the edges at once. And this time I use distance of 50 by 50. 50 by 50, yeah. Okay. So I just select on this, and it makes a very nice chamfer. You can see the table is just like an investor's table right now, but it's not that big. So we'll make it big later on. So now for us to make this table bigger in size, there is something called scale, just like the name goes. The scale command, just like the name goes. It actually increases or reduces, either it enlarges or it reduces the size of any object selected. So let's do practicals with that. I'm going to copy this and take it out of this place. Let me just copy it to somewhere I can work with it. F8 to remove orthogonal restriction. I take it to this direction, I keep it here. And that is, I just want one copy, so no more. Okay, yeah. That is it. Okay, so that is it. Now I want to increase the size of this table. Let's say I want to increase it times 2 of its current size. There is something called scale in AutoCAD. And what scale helps you do is that it helps you either increase or reduce the size of any object according to the scale you insert. So in this case, I'm going to scale this object times 2 of its size. Let's see. I want this object to be increased. Now, how to know if it will be increased or reduced? If you use any number less than 1, any number less than 1 will reduce its size. Any number greater than 1 will increase its size. Did you get that? Any number less than 1 will reduce its size. I will type it less than 1. Any number less than 1 will reduce its size. Okay, any number greater than 1 will increase its size. That is it. Any number less than 1 will reduce its size. Any number greater than 1 will increase its size. If you understand that, please say yes, use the chat box. Okay. Perfect, John, noted. Okay. Okay, Chinagrom, yes. Okay. She's Yamadi, yes. Okay, no problem. We are all on the same page. Now let's get to work. Now I want to scale this object. How do I scale that? There are 2 ways. I can highlight it and select the scale option. And then it will ask me of a base point. I discussed about base points yesterday. For those that don't know, a base point is like a pivot point. It's like a peak point. In this case of scale, you're trying to tell this software that, okay, I want this part to be the constant point. Like this point will be, the whole object will be pinned to this point, and then it enlarges, either enlarges or reduces from this point. So now I want to enlarge or reduce from the center. So I will select the center in this case as my base point. I'll select the center. Now, let's see something. If I go like this, I can either stretch or reduce it. I can either increase or reduce it according to any size I want. So if you look at the cursor, there's a tooltip there. There's something there and it's increasing in size. Look at the box. Currently it's at 6 and we can go to 7, 8. That is called the scale factor. So now you have to impute the scale factor. You have to impute the scale factor. The scale factor will determine how big or small you either increase or reduce this particular object. So if you want to increase it to ×2 of its size, you can impute 2 as a scale factor. That means I want to increase this object, but I want to increase it ×2 of its current size. Do you understand that? Do you understand it? If you understand it, please use the chat box. If you understand what I just explained about the scale factor, please use the chat box. Okay? Perfect, John, yeah? Okay. That's nice, we all understand. So now I'm going to insert 1.5. So it's not exactly ×2 of its size. It just increases by maybe 50%. Do you understand that? So that is it. So now I did 1.5 and you've noticed it increased in size a little. So let me make it a little bit noticeable. So this, I will copy this. I'll just copy it. And peak point to be the center point. And the drop point, I'll also drop it there at the center also. So now we'll select one of them. We have 2 there now. I'll select only 1. Okay. Now I've selected 1 and I want to scale that one. Now the base point will be the center also. Now I want to scale it 1.5. So you see, we now have 2 objects there. One is being scaled to be 50% bigger than the previous one. Do you understand? Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Okay, if you understand, please, you know what to do. Use the chat box. It encourages me a lot. Okay. Okay, no problem. Having done that, we'll come to our house now and increase the size of this table because I want the table to be, I want the table to be big enough to be counting investors' money. So now let's go and increase this in size by just scaling it. And I will use the center to be my base point and I will impute 2. That means it will be ×2 its current size. Enter. Wow. I used to, as you can see, like so, the table is just too big. I don't know. This investor's money, I'm not sure it's this long. I don't want wahala. So I'm going to reduce this table by using any number less than 1 for an example. So now, for me to reduce this table, I'll just highlight the table, or I click on scale. When I click on scale, I come and select the object, which is this table in this case, and then enter. After that, it's asking me to select base point. This time around, I am going to use right here as my base point, the midpoint of this arc, which is here, the center of that arc rather. So I hover around the arc to look for the center, and it shows the center with a cross sign. So I select on the center of that arc as my base point. Now I'm going to reduce it by, I want to reduce it by 20%. So I will use point, let's say 0.8. Yeah, 0.8. So that is the scale factor. You see, it's a little bit moderate, but that's not too good for me. I want to reduce it more. So this time I highlight it, I click on scale. I highlight it, I'll click on scale. And after that, I'll come to that same base point. And then I use 0.6 as my scale factor. So you see, we have it like so. If you understand up to this point, please say yes, use the chat box. If you understand up to this point, please say yes, use the chat box. If you understand up to this point, okay, Chizi Amadi understands. Chinagorom, yes, okay. John Paul, yes. Any other person? Okay, we'll continue. Now, having said that, we'll go to our next topic for today. Is it really a topic? Okay, we'll go to our next tool for the day. Now, for that, I'm going to copy these guys. First of all, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Delete these guys. It's always good to do housekeeping. It helps your mind work well. Because if you don't do housekeeping, your drawing or your model will look a little bit scattered, and it actually clouds your mind. So it's always good to do a little bit of housekeeping while you're working. Okay, so I'm going to take these and then move them from this point down to this point right here. Okay, so we have those two. Now, for our next topic, we're going to be talking about divide and measure. They are just two simple things. But first of all, we'll talk about divide. What this actually creates evenly spaced points. I talked about points yesterday, and I talked about how to get points, which is this one right here. So now the next one is divide. As you can see, like so. You see the point, divide is under the draw tool and not under the modified tool. Why? Because it's not actually a modified tool. It's actually a draw tool, but you use it to divide lines, but you're not directly dividing the lines. You're just creating points on top of that line. So now we're going to click on the divide option, or the divide command, or the divide tool. And then we'll select the object we want to divide. In this case, I want to divide this line. And it's asking me the number of segments. Like, how do you want to divide this line? So I'm going to impute 7. What will this do? This 7 I impute, now if I say okay, it will divide this line by 7 equal parts. Like, it will divide the line into 7 segments. And all these segments will be divided evenly. So I'll do that. And you see, it will seem like, okay, this line is not divided because there's nothing, it has not done anything. You see the line is still there. So it did not divide the line in essence. What did it do? It's created some points along this line. So how can you see the point? Since a point does not have any size. Since a point does not have any size, how do you see this point? If you remember from our previous class talking about points, I talked about how to edit this point. And there is something called dynamic dialog point type. Dynamic dialog point type. Okay, now this DDP type, that's the command. It helps you edit the properties of points. to make them more visible. So how do you do that? Just by typing DDP type. After typing DDP type, just enter, and it will bring up this dialog box or dialog screen. And then you select how you want your points to be displayed. If you notice, this is the default one, and you can see it's very small. So I don't think it will be visible to the eyes, even if you zoom into infinity. So it won't really be visible. So now you have to select amongst these options which you want to use. In this case, I'll go for one that's a little bit fanciful, and I think I'll go for this one. That to be too much. I'll just go for this one. Okay, so that will be an indication that, okay, this is where my points are. And then the size, I talked about it last time. I won't talk much about it today. I want it to be 5% of my entire screen. And then I click OK. So you see it there. The line is being divided by points accordingly to 7 equal segments. So you can see this can be seen as segment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 4, 6, 7. As you can see, like so. So if you understand up to this point, how to divide a line, if you understand up to this point, please say yes. Use the chat box, say yes. If you understand up to this point, please, oh, okay. Yeah, that is good. That is good. You understand up to this point. All right, the next one is measure. The measure tool is similar to the divide tool. What it does is that it creates points or objects at measured intervals along a length or perimeter. And for that, we're going to be using this arc. We're going to measure this arc. So now for that, we go to the Home tab, Draw panel, and drop down that Draw panel, and then select on Measure. After selecting Measure, we come and select the object we want to measure. And it will be asking you for length of segment. Now, how do you want to measure this thing? I want it to be measured, let's say I want it, should I go, let me do 400. 400. That's the length of each segment I want. So now you see. Now, each of these segments, if you measure with a tape, if you measure from here to here, you see that it's actually 400. And this is 400, and this is 400, like so, until it gets to the end. So what this helps you do is that if you want to divide this and you want the line to be 400 equally, you can use the measure tool. So you know you can share this 400 along. So you see, this part is 400, this part is 400, this part is 400, and it goes like so. If you understand up to this point, John Paul, you do not understand. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not get this early enough. I will explain again. But if you understand the second one right now, please say yes. Kafure John, you have a question. Okay, no problem. We're already at the end of our class, so I will attend to you soon. Just chill. Okay, Chinagoron, you understand? Which other person understands? Chizi Amadi understands. Okay. Well, we've actually met the end of our class, so I will like John Paul to tell us where he's lacking. Please unmute your mic, John Paul.
That divide portion when you divided the line.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. The line.
Okay, no problem. Let me explain it again. Let's say I have this line. I'll have to copy it out. We'll copy this out. Okay, now I will just copy the line and explain both of them using the line. I'll copy this out to this point, and then another one here. Enter. So now let's see. First of all, let's try to get the measurement of this line. I want this to come out here. Okay, it's 3,500, like we see. So now, for the divide command, you go to your Home tab, the Draw panel, and drop down the Draw panel to get divide, divide command. Select it. Now you select the object you want to divide. In this case, I want to divide this line. I'll select on this line. Now you impute the number of segments. Number of segments is simply asking you, okay, you want to divide this line into how many equal parts? So now I want it to be divided into 7 equal parts. I say enter. And because the DDP type is being set already, you will see the points visible. And if you count these parts, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 equal parts. It divided this length into 7 equal parts. Please, if you understand, John Paul, if you understand up to this point, please say yes. John Paul, if you understand up to this point. Okay, yeah. I like that. John Paul understands up to this point. Now, the next one is divide. The next one is divide. We'll go to divide. Like I said, divide actually creates, it creates points or objects at measured intervals along lengths. So we're going to create a point along this line using the measure command. So now let's not a point, we're going to be creating points. So now let's go here. And then we select the one we want to measure, which is this. And then now, since it's 3,500, let's measure it to be 3 equal segments, right? So I'll make sure one part, no, it's 3,500. Okay. So I'll make it 7. I want it to be also 7. So I want each part to be 500. The 500 will. Let's try it and see. So the length of each segment should be 500. And I do enter. So now if I use my dimension, and I come here, I select this endpoint, and then this node, I go up. You see, it will be equal to 500. I come again, I select from this point, I go here. You see, it will be equal to 500. So if I continue like this till the end, you see them being 500. Each of the segments is measured according to the amount or the unit I did in SAT. If you understand up to this point, please say yes. Okay, yes. Okay. Fafure John, it's time for you to ask your question. Please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Sir, please, I want to ask for that arc. If you don't know the normal length of the arc,
how would you know the length of the arc?
Yes, how do you know the length of the arc? And you want to measure the segment.
The what?
For that arc now, how do we know the length?
That will be.
We will not know how to divide equally.
We were supposed to talk about it later on using the measure tool.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
It's not for this class actually. But using the measure tool, you can actually measure lengths and every other thing using this measure tool. You understand? That's exclusively for another class. So just chill, we'll get there. It's in bits. As you can see, the length of this arc is 1392. So let me copy it out. Mr. John, for your I moved it out and I come here, measure. You can see there, it's 1392. If I come here, I need to measure this and tell you the dimensions, even just like that. So that is it. Any other question for the day, please? Mr. John, if you understand this now, please lower your hand. Okay. Any other question for the day, please? Any other question for the day? Okay, the host, please, you can stop streaming. I need to talk to my people.